welcome to the MVP, Luis, Joe, and we got our guest here, Zach Peterson. Before we start anything, I'm going to give a special shout out to the YMCA in San Angelo for allowing us to record here again. They're very huge in the community of San Angelo. They do a lot for veterans in the active duty. Great programs. They have veteran discounts and scholarships and active duty. So yeah, just come on down, check them out. They're great people, man. So yeah, I want to jump right into it and just talk, introduce Zach Peterson, Army veteran, music aficionado.
Ooh,
I know.
Italian, huh?
Was it Italian?
I don't know.
Is that Italian?
Maybe
I don't know.
I'm making it fancy now.
I'm bilateral, bro. So yeah, and Zach, he's worked with him a long time. He's very good in the veteran community as well too. But the cool thing is that he has a band. Tell us about that, man.
Man, I'm glad you think that's cool. At 33 years old, most people are like, "You got a band?" Like, not most people, but you know how that goes. Yeah, man. So I grew up in a musical family. My uncles on my mom's side are country musicians, and two of my uncles, they had some hits in Nashville back in the 90s with a band called Sons of the Desert, and they're all from San Angelo. So I grew up with that in my family, and then I didn't get my first guitar until I was about 13. I was 13 years old, man, and kids get a guitar and it's going to sit in the closet for a while if it's not something that they're out to do. It's going to sit, collect dust until something hits them. And I got together with one of my uncles, my oldest uncle, Trace. He told me to bring the guitar to a family gathering and showed me he showed me like 3 or 4 chords, and from there he's like, you know these chords, you can make an infinite number of songs. And that kind of just like hooked me. Something about like taking, combination of notes or whatever and being able to make with those 4 things like an infinite amount of, I guess, sounds or songs. I don't know how to say it, but that struck me. And from there, I was pretty much hooked. So I've been playing for, I guess, about 20 years now. It makes me feel old.
So when you were in the service, were you still playing too, or?
No, so like all throughout high school, that's all I do. I had a garage apartment was where my room was separate. I don't know how my parents trusted me for that. But I would stay up all night and just play. And then I think I was about 16. I'm not even sure what. You know what? It's every GWAT vet story. Yeah. Like I watched Black Hawk Down, and I was like, something clicked. I was on my futon playing my guitar and watching Black Hawk Down, and the scene where Gary Gordon and Randy Shugart come down and do their thing, and there's that portion, there's that quote from that movie, and I think it's in the book, no one knows how it actually went down, but where he talks to Mike Durant, and he's like, Gordy's gone, man, it's just us, like, good luck. And that was it, and that said everything. He didn't look scared, he was just accepted the situation, but that courage, man, it's hard not to get a little emotional thinking about that, man. Yeah. I wanted a piece of that brotherhood. Yeah. So from there on, I was like, I'm going to join the Army. I'm going to be a Ranger, which I did not make it through that. But that's what I wanted to do. So from there on out, I still love to play, but I wanted to go in the Army. And that's what I did. A week out of high school, I went to Fort Benning, and I had an infantry Ranger contract and made it through airborne and got to RASP. And I was there for about 3 weeks. And, dude, I kind of chickened out, dude. I was looking back on it, man. I've had my moments where I was like, I wish I was more mature and I would have finished that program. My head wasn't in the right spot, but ultimately, I ended up going to 4th Brigade, 25th Infantry up in Fort Richardson, Alaska. Assigned to Charlie Company, 3rd Battalion, 509th Infantry Regiment, and I was there for 4 years. And that, I wouldn't trade that for the world. The people I met and encountered, and the good and the bad. Had one deployment to Afghanistan with them, and that was, it was an experience. You guys know how that goes.
Yeah,
It's an experience. You can't say it was good or bad one way or the other, but it molds you. But during that time, as far as music, I had a guitar in the barracks, and but I didn't really do much with it. It was really like a 10-year break, I would say, in really taking it seriously. And But yeah, after active duty, I tried to do some time in the reserves. I hated that. I was in a reserve unit for 3 years with a bunch of field grades, so I was mowing the grass, every month, and it was on Fort Hood. So 2 weeks out of the summer, my.
So you're still in a combat area.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Fort Hood. Yeah, definitely, dude. That was scarier than anything.
Just kidding, guys.
Yeah. But yeah, 2-week annual trainings with them. They would find a new piece of grass for me to cut every day of that.
So what I think is cool is that you talk about the courage after seeing the movie going into the service, but what you do now, I couldn't do what you do now. That's scary.
Yeah.
Oh,
Playing in front of people with the band.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool that your courage still carried over. So what made you start a band?
Well, dude, I don't know. I think I'm also a massive Jimi Hendrix fan. That guy's the man. Like, when I got into guitar, watching him and the way he was also an Army vet. I don't know if you know that. He was a 101st guy for a time being. It's kind of disputed how he exited the service.
Yeah,
but I, learning about his story and seeing what he came from as far as his childhood, which I have a very good childhood, very privileged, and I didn't go through some of the stuff he went through as a kid, but how those things that the traumas that people carry, you channel that through the music and seeing how he would do that on stage. And typically I can be a quiet guy aside from that, and even I'm not like a loud person by any means, but seeing him go from that to transform on stage, I was like, this is where he's putting all that emotion into that guitar, man. And I wanted to I didn't want to copy him, and that's, I think, for the longest time I felt like I was just trying to be like him, and now it's kind of changed. But when I finally got out completely, I ended up going into the National Guard, doing another deployment with 1st Battalion 141 of the 36 ID here in Texas. I was like, man, I need to do something with that, because it had been 10 years since my deployment to Afghanistan, and losing friends to suicide and alcohol, drugs, and just kind of recklessness. It's very easy to see how if you don't have an outlet for that stuff, it takes over really quick. And one of my favorite things is to go home after a day of work and have a beer. And I got to a point where I was saying, like, man, I'm having more beers after work than I usually do, and that was where I got my pleasure. Like, you think about your friends that you don't see anymore. You think about the people that their lives are cut too short, and you feel like you're doing them a service by going and having a beer for them. But it doesn't make sense. You're getting buzzed to honor your friend. Like, there's a time and a place for that, and it's not every single day. And so I felt like I needed to do something and channel that experience in a way that was going to be positive for me, and to be able to tell other people's stories and to tell my story. So that's why I ultimately started the band.
So you talk about drinking all this. Is that something that you recognize all on your own, or did anybody else kind of point that out? Because I know for me, I knew I was drinking a little too much, but it wasn't until it was pointed out to me, like, hey, this is becoming a problem, that I really analyzed, like, okay, I need to change some things. I need to, find a healthier way to deal with this.
It was a little of both, and really it wasn't somebody saying that you have a problem, but I didn't have my first beer until after I came back from that deployment. I turned 21 in Afghanistan, and I think it was like our first day back in the barracks. My roommate was like, hey, you want a beer? And I was like, no. And then I was like, you know what? Yeah, I do. And so I took that, and I liked it. But that being said, I've never been a super heavy drinker, but it would be like, moments that I'm looking, like, drill weekends, you go out and get blasted with the guys, or like, work trainings or symposiums, and I was starting to get known as the wild one, which is not me at home. And I was, somebody would be like, oh, Zach, watch out for Zach, you're going to be holding his hair tonight. Like, like, man, that's not me.
Yeah.
And, and then, I think I had noticed it personally. Like, that was, like I said, that was the most exciting part of my day, is getting home, and I love to cook, listen to music, and have a beer, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But when that one like turns like maybe I should, let's see what happens if I throw a couple shots of bourbon in this beer and let's make some funky cocktails.
But see, that's also that. I think that goes back to the the bravery and having a confidence again, like joining service, starting a band, and then also realizing that hey, recognizing, man, I got a problem.
Yeah.
And then attacking that problem instead of attacking with another bad habit, you tag it with a good habit, a passionate one that you can pour into.
Yeah.
But also saying, you know what, I'm allowed to have a beer. Because I think we all have the same problem.
Yeah.
Or we had the same problem where we drank a lot. But now, there's nothing wrong with having a beer at dinner and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you know your limit now. You're like, I don't need this to survive because I'm going to go home, I got this, I got that.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty amazing, man. I mean, again, I can't even keep a tune, bro. Like,
No.
I can't even whistle.
No.
I can't listen.
My grandpa played the guitar, and he was amazing.
Yeah.
So he tried to teach all his kids how to play and everything like that. So when I was a kid, he tried to teach me how to play the guitar.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know this way better than I do. But I start trying to learn some strings, and I'm like, this hurts my fingers. And immediately, I'm like, I don't want to do this. And I look back now, and I see like some of my cousins that can play and everything, and they're amazing as well. And I'm like, damn, I wish I could do that. Like now, I'm just envious of like if I should have just stuck with it. Kind of like you talk about going to training. Like if I was a little more mature, if I had put more time into it, I don't know that I would have personally done anything with being able to play, but it would just be something cool. I could just sit there and play and just pass the time. But
dude, it's so much fun, and there's, and I'll say it like if that's something you want to do, it's never too late because like I said, I pulled away from it for the better part of 10 years, and I like. You retain what you learn, but I found that like when I really like this is the most seriously I've ever taken it the past probably couple years, and really the last 2 months where things have started to pick up, and we've got the right people in the band, and it's a lot of fun, man. But,
so how did y'all come together as far as your band goes? Like are these guys that you knew, people you knew, or?
So no, initially, I'm gonna back up a little bit. My first band that I tried to put together back in 2015, and I say like on and off for 10 years, where I'd have a band, and I was living in Brownwood at the time. I named us the Damp Whoobies. So any military people, you guys know what the whoobie is, right? And that comes from being up in Alaska in the winter out in the field, and your whoopie is like your one piece of comfort, and if that sucker gets wet, like your life is over.
Like wet socks.
Yeah. Oh,
so we're
that's
like
the worst.
Dude, so we're a blues band. I was like, there's no deeper blues than your whoopie getting damp, and so I was like the Damp Whoobies. And eventually people said that they didn't like the word whoopie, and they just didn't get it. They didn't. The military people connected with it, but
pulls my heartstrings now.
See, and in the Marine Corps, we called it the poncho liner.
Yeah.
So forever, people would talk about whoopie. I'm like, what the heck is a whoopie? And they showed them, a poncho liner. But I'm like, okay, I get it now. But it's just funny. When I first heard that word whoopie, I'm like, I was thinking like baby stuff. A whoopie. Like, what the heck is a whoopie?
So it pretty much is baby stuff.
Yeah,
you walk around like this.
Yeah, that's your comfort blanket.
When you come back from the field, you're like, oh, I missed you, whoopie.
But I mean, I went through and really just the players I had at the time, some of them are doing really cool stuff musically now, but at the time it just wasn't the right fit, I don't think. And but anyway, like when I moved back to San Angelo after coming back from Africa in 2019, it took me 3 years of being here before I was like, okay, I want to do this again. And so my drummer Cooper, we met at our church, and we both actually are on the worship team at our church.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
I didn't know him at first at all, and I reached out to him, and I think it was over just Instagram or something, and asked to jam with him. And so for the longest time, it's been me and Cooper, guitar, drums, and vocals, and then we've been through a whole just catalog of bass players, and that's been the missing piece, which our bass player Scott Russell, he came into the picture about a month and a half ago. So really, like, we're waiting to find the right bass player. I don't know why they're so hard to find, but we have him, and now it's like, okay, let's move forward. So the name of the band is War Child, and formerly known as Cosmic Apology, but our wives made fun of us for that name. So we immediately
leave it to the wives.
We did one show as Cosmic Apology, got made fun of by our women, and we were like, we need a different name.
You know it's bad when you made like
Yeah,
the
oh,
dude's
yeah.
like, that's all right, but the
It's like, I support you, but this is a little goofy.
I think that might be the name of our first record, though. Just pay tribute.
Yeah.
Cosmic Apology. It doesn't mean nothing, but it's.
and hear it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I'm not wearing that shirt.
So yeah, with War Child, man. Thinking, I mean, a lot of times when people, I usually, because I have a song about my experiences in Afghanistan, and that's usually the song that we close with, and everyone will equate the name War Child with the military, and I think that's part of it. Where it came from was thinking like, people go into war, it's kids, man. 18 to 23 is the majority of it, and I turned 21 over there. I feel like that's still, I mean, by state standards, 18 to 24, you're still considered a youth.
Yeah.
Or is that federal standards? I'm not sure. It might be federal. But so I felt like that was a big part of me growing up. And so it's, you're a child of war. You grow up. And then the same way is, and we talk about this a lot, Luis, is just with trauma and different types of trauma. Trauma is something that everyone experiences. Everyone grows up with their own demons and their own issues, whether that be from family or whatever happened to them as children. Everyone grows up with that internal and external conflict, and that's ultimately what forms the people. So that's kind of where I tried to connect the military side of it to everyone else, and say like, hey, like, I'm not saying this, I'm not trying to get clout by saying I'm a veteran. I'm trying to connect with people that aren't as well and share our experiences and still be able to relate to everyone else.
Well, it's like that with everybody else, like PTSD and stuff like that. We don't, as veterans, we don't own it, right? It's more, I hate saying the word popular because of movies and stuff like that, but, children, family members throughout history all have PTSD of some sort. That's why we try to share it, because our incidences, what happened, were different, but our feelings are going to be the same.
Yeah.
Whether, we self-destruct or over-medicate, self-medicate, whatever we do, so it's still the same. So being able to take what made us successful and help someone else, whether you're a veteran or not, that's phenomenal. And I think starting a band, I think music is one of the ultimate releases, because even though I can't play, there's nothing better than jumping in the truck, listening to music, just driving for at least an hour a day. I'm gonna decompress, before going home.
And I agree. I think music is like one of the most universal things that we have. You know what I mean? Everybody listens to music. It might be different kinds, different styles, but I feel like there's songs that you hear that just take you back.
Yeah.
I can be driving to my truck, whatever, and I hear a song and I'm like, oh, this is 8th grade. You know what I mean? Like, it takes me back to a place. So it's really cool that you do that, where people can relate and they can have that, like, hey, it's okay to be vulnerable. This guy went through something. He's got trauma. His is different than mine, but we both have trauma, and they're able to relate to that. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it brings you joy too, like you can, like, I think the coolest thing is being able to talk about that trauma with a smile on your face.
Yeah.
And I think with the music, what I've realized, like, and I'm not trying to become some international star or anything like that.
Oh, this cut. We're done.
Just cut that. I'm not trying. But I think, like, one thing I've realized, like, that's my passion. That's where I'm at home. And like, if you're doing what you're passionate for, like, that's gonna come across in a way, like, that's where you're gonna be able to help the most people, important to people. And like last night we had a show in Abilene, and I met a guy by the name of Danny James, and he's an Air Force veteran. He did, I think he did 3 or 4 deployments to Afghanistan, and he's a punk rocker, man. But this is my first time meeting this guy, and we connected immediately after the show, exchanged information, and just had some really good conversations. We pitched in with another band to buy a guitar from a pawn shop, and we ended up giving that away, and he ended up being the one that got the guitar last night, and which was really cool, because he ended up he was like having to sell all of his gear to go to Chicago. He's gonna go and record an album up there, but he had to sell all of his guitars and equipment to be able to get up there, and his plan was to get up there, do a little busking, buy the equipment he needed, record the album, and come back. So he ended up being able to take a new guitar down there to
That's
record.
awesome, dude. That's pretty cool, giving back. Then also, you also had a release party not too long ago.
Yeah. So we had a song come out back in, I guess, earlier this month called Without You. It's on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Napster, LimeWire, that good stuff. So it's out there.
Don't download it.
Yeah, Metallica's going to come after you.
I wish Metallica would come after me. That'd be an honor, man. But yeah, it's that's our only song we have up right now. We had some more. I ended up taking them down so we can get them right in the studio. And that song I actually wrote in the Armory when I was doing a makeup drill by myself. No, it was a makeup AT. I missed AT for something. And so I was in the Armory by myself for 2 weeks. I don't even know what I did. I just had to be there and call like the first sergeant and say, hey, I'm done for the day. Like, I'm here. Like, it was like a 6 a.m. like teleformation. Like, I'm reporting. All right, go do stuff. And
So you wrote the song Johnny Cash style.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, it looked like that Singing the Hanger in the line. Because I had my cot, one cot in the Armory in the corner, and so the song's called Without You. And while I was there, every night I would drive down to San Antonio to a place called Fitzgerald's Rock Bar, and they have jam nights every night. And people just go and you meet other musicians and play. And so I came up with the riff there at this one thing, and I met some really cool people, and then I brought it back to the Armory. And it's a real simple song, just about, like being alone and like those nights where you can't fall asleep because you're either thinking about, your loved ones that aren't there, or my daughter, she lives with her mom in Austin, so missing her, missing your wife, being away from them, missing your friends that are gone. It's just about missing people. It's a real simple song, but wrote that there and recorded it, and it just came out. So we had a lot of fun recording that. We recorded it at home, but we got another song coming out. I want to release it May 6th, and that's the anniversary of. That'll be what year is it? 2025.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be the 13th anniversary of the passing of Staff Sergeant Thomas Fogarty, who was killed while I was on my way back from mid-tour leave, and also my friend Damian Desmarais, who his life was cut short. It was a sad story, man. But so the song that we're getting, we already recorded it. It's called Life Saving Waters, and I wrote it about maybe 2 or 3 months after coming home, and that song is just kind of like I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, and I grew up in the church, and so I was kind of the weird church kid in my unit. And coming back from that, you're dealing with questions of faith. With you're questioning everything. You're questioning, you see something like, and you deal with the darkness with humor, right? So you think about the people that you see that are hurt or killed that were innocent, and you think about how you cope with that with humor, and you struggle to balance, how you deal with your own coping mechanisms, and of course, the elements of faith, which, according to my faith, I shouldn't be laughing about this guy, getting shot in the face. But that's how you cope. It's a fight or flight, I think, response to that. And so I was really confused, and that resulted in this song that I wrote, I guess, over 10 years ago now. But we finally got it recorded last month down at a place called Wonderland Records in Clyde, Texas. Really cool studio, man. Like, they're great people, and I've been wanting to record it forever, and now we finally have it coming out, and it's going to be the way that I want it to sound and have imagined it. So
Nice.
Really excited about that song. So
That's cool, man. And then, like, what's your next? Like, where do you see you and the band going? Like, what is your goal besides fame?
Besides fame and glory,
Yeah.
no. I think so. Right now, I work with veterans. I work helping veterans get employment, and I love that. It's the best job I've ever had by far. What I would like to see with this group, I think that I would like to get to a point where this could be my full-time focus. That being said, I'm fortunate enough to have a VA rating and to have some cushion there to be able to make up the difference. But really, it's just building like I said, not trying to make millions of dollars here, but if I can make the difference with music that I'm making now, like, that would be plenty. And being able to pour into people, whether they're veterans or not, through the music is I think ultimately what I want to do. So a year from now, a year and a half from now, I would like to say by the end of next summer, I would like to be in a position where we're, playing full time, and whether that, like, I don't know what that looks like or means exactly yet, because I've got family and they're obviously going to come first. But there's methods out there. There's the internet. We live in a day and age where musicians, they don't have to. They still do, and I respect the musicians that are out hustling every day, like Danny James, that I just told you guys about. I talking to him last night. He does music full time. He's not a rich man. But he's out downtown in Abilene on the streets from practically sun up to sundown, playing his guitar on the street for tips, and he's making it with that. And I respect the hell out of anyone that does that, but that's not the way it has to be anymore. There's there's other avenues, and really, like, kind of my outlook on it these days is I think before I was like, if I'm good enough, people are going to approach me and they're going to want, it's going to happen on its own. But you do have to hustle. You have to work for it, and you have to ask people to play. You have to be vulnerable with people that run venues, and you have to let go of your pride a little bit and be like, okay, can I please come play for you?
Right.
Whereas my opinion before was like, they should be asking me to come play for them, but that's just not the way it works. But on that note, one of the philosophies I've developed is, like, I think before, and I think where a lot of musicians kind of maybe get it wrong, is every move that they make is about, what can I get out of this? What can my band get out of this? But to approach it from a perspective of, like, I want to make one new friend a week in the music community. They don't have to be the same genre. You don't have to jam together, but just make one new friend, somebody you can support, and like just be kind to people. And I know it's kind of weird because it sounds like I'm doing this just to see what happens back to me, but like I just love people, man, and meeting new people and hearing people's stories is an inspiration to me. And I found, like, if you're just nice to people and treat people well and respectful, and like, they're going to return the favor. 9 times out of 10. People want to support something that's going on. And with the recording of our last song, I think I told Luis, but like, getting into the studio is expensive. Like, we're talking like almost $2,000 a song. So if you have a song with 10 songs, that's $20,000 on the record that you don't know if anyone's going to listen to. But we didn't pay a dime out of our own pockets for that. We did a GoFundMe. We sold T-shirts, and we had a lot of donations. And within 2 weeks, we had over $2,000 raised for that song.
Nice.
And so that was really, and that just, it really humbled me that people aren't supporting you because they don't want to. It's like, people don't support you because they don't know how to.
Yeah.
And so getting out there and, asking for help, and that goes for any circle, whether that's music or, for people with PTSD or depression or, all the things that people deal with, like getting out there and saying that you need help is really
the first step is that hardest one. After that,
Yeah.
But that first step, so that's pretty cool, man. That's a lot of people knowing that you have a passion and they want to see you go in that passion, right? They don't want to see what they're going to get out of it. They just want to see you succeed. It's the same way you don't want everything. You just want to see someone else succeed, right? So it's paying it forward, right? I want you to be successful. Here's the tools to go be successful. So I think it's pretty badass, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I feel like those are the people that are the most successful nowadays with all these documentaries. I love watching documentaries, behind the scenes, behind the story type of stuff. And in my opinion, the people that are most successful are the ones that aren't in it for just the money. They aren't in it just for the fame. They're in it for the passion. And like I said, if you really enjoy doing what you're doing, and then of course helping people on top of that, I feel like those are the people that are the most successful. Obviously, you got to put in the work. It's not going to just come to you.
Right.
But again, if you're in it for the right reasons, it'll happen.
Yeah, 100%. And nothing happens overnight either. So like setting those expectations, and it's a slow process. I've been trying to get into the social media game a little bit because that's something that apparently you're supposed to do, and I've been doing it for a long time. That's been fun, but that's a learning curve too. But people have been backing us. We've grown our following from 100 people back in January, maybe around 100 friends and family, that followed us, and a month later we're pushing 500 followers and things like that. So it's been fun, man.
Nice.
Just trying to learn how to navigate different aspects of that, and just coming into contact with people from overseas. Like there's people in Germany reaching out to me and talking to me and asking questions and wanting to do collaborations and
Wow.
just getting in on that and just seeing kind of just having fun with it. Meeting people and loving people is really like ultimately what it comes down to, I think, for anything. Like you find something where you can, and I know a lot of especially veterans, you get to a spot where you feel like you don't know how to love anymore. And I feel like I've been there before, and especially after my first marriage, or when that was kind of falling apart, and that was right after my friend Damien passed away. You feel like you don't know how to love, and it's not necessarily that you're angry all the time. It's like you just don't care. You don't feel anything. God, where was I going with that thought? I don't know, man. But ultimately, like you find something that makes you feel, not just like yourself, but makes you feel like a human being again.
Point is that you don't have to stay in that, you're not knowing how to love or be affectionate and stuff like that. You don't have to stay there. You can fight your way out. But the cool thing is that you don't have to fight your way out by yourself. You have people that have your support, whether it's friends, families, or your music. That's your weapon to get out.
Yeah.
So that's the cool thing is that you were there, but now you're at a point now to where it's like, you know what, I understand and realize I'm gonna go. So you use your depression, PTSD, things like that to fuel your passion. So I think it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it's been good, man. And there's the good days and the bad days that everyone deals with, but overall, man, like it's just been a blessing. And I tell my uncle Trace all the time, like, and he's a very humble guy. He's an incredible songwriter. His name's Trace Womack, and every chance I get, I thank him for showing me those 4 chords. And I started out, listening to country music, Daryl Dodd and Brad Paisley and Willie Nelson, people like that, Gary Allen. That's who I grew up with. But by the time I, started figuring out that I could do more with this and got into people like Hendrix and B.B. King, Lightning Hopkins, I'm really into blues and that kind of thing, man. And that just opened up a whole new avenue of possibility and expression. And my Uncle Trace will be like, "Oh, don't thank me. It's all on your own," and it's not. Nothing is just talent. It always comes from something or someone else. And there's a lot of people that have had a key place in that, whether it be musical or not. So
It's cool, man.
How hard was it coming out? So you talk about that first 100 people, friends, family, and stuff. How hard is it to be that vulnerable to be like, hey, here's what I created, and put it out there for your friends and family?
Oh, dude, it's terrifying, man. Like when I first got into like recording music, I'm not a great studio engineer or anything. I don't know what I do. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I've learned enough to get to a point where I could get a song to sound the way I wanted to somewhat. But still, once you get it there, you're the only one that's heard it. Even your bandmates, a lot of times, they went and played their parts. They haven't heard the product. You're the only one that's listened to it as you're editing it, you're doing the, mixing it and the mastering and all that. So that being said, like, you're always going to be your own worst critic, right? And you're going to hear every little thing in there that you don't like. And it can be a never-ending process because if you're doing your own music, you're going to want it to be perfect. So I would record a song and sit on it for a year and a half before I did anything with it. And finally, I just like, you know what, this is ridiculous. I'm just going to put it out there. And then when I put it out there, I wouldn't tell anyone. But I think just realizing that, it's part of it. And if you think it's kind of good, if you think something that you made is kind of good, odds are people are going to think that it's a lot better than you think it is because you're going to be harsh on yourself. So, but with having other people involved, especially other musicians, if you have somebody like my last music I had, I did the bass for. I had like programmed drums, and then I would just do the guitar and the vocals and the bass myself. So I'm doing everything, and so I'm the only one invested in it. And I like the aspect of including other musicians, so it's like, everyone else is putting a piece of themselves into that, and it's not just you. It takes some of the pressure off of you, I think. This next one, man, I'm really excited because not only do I have my trio, so myself, Scott on bass, and Cooper on drums. I met some really just beautiful people out from Clyde where we recorded by the name of Jordan Tyler Haynes and McKenna Kosowski, who are phenomenal musicians, songwriters, and they've got music out too. McKenna actually just had a song drop last week, and it's like a pop song, but it's all like real instruments, so it has that organic kind of earthy feel, man. It's like a Daft Punk meets Stevie Nicks meets Casey Musgraves type vibe, and it's such a cool song. Dislocated Dream is what it's called. And then Jordan, man, that guy, he does it all. But he played keys on our song. He plays the organ on it. But he's got his own music out too, and they're just brilliant musicians. And McKenna, she sings backing vocals. So being able to go to this place and bring these other people that I'm becoming friends with and getting close with into the song and having them invest, their talents into it.
Yeah.
It's just, that's what I want. It's like a community all in one place. So
It's very cool, man.
Yeah, that's
Thank
a cool
you.
deal. Yeah. So the podcast, obviously, we called it Military Veteran Podcast for MVP, and I heard you talk about your Uncle Trace a lot. So something I want to try to start doing is, who is the MVP in your life? Who do you think got you to where you were, whether it was an influence, a teaching, or who would you say is the MVP in your life?
Oh my gosh. At the risk of offending people, let's see. I'm gonna throw
It could be more than one.
Can I throw some shout outs here?
Yeah.
So first of all, like my parents, my mom, my dad, like I said, I had a great childhood. My parents divorced when I was like 12, but they gave me a great childhood. They really did. They did their best. And then my stepdad, everyone in my family has been incredible and a huge influence, and I have a lot to thank them for as far as being okay where I'm at. Because if it wasn't for them, I think I could have gone down a whole different rabbit hole. My wife, my current wife, my forever wife.
Yeah.
I'd say she's been an influence. Man, I've loved that girl since I was like 12 years old, and I ended up getting married to somebody else beforehand. As military people go, you go to war and you think, you know what, I'm gonna die, I might as well get married anyway. So I got married, and I'm not gonna get too much into that, but had my daughter with my first wife, obviously, but ended up marrying the girl that I really was just completely in love with as a preteen. And she's been there to support me every step of the way, and to listen to me talk about my traumas and struggles and depression, and even like the drinking thing. Like, she was never one to say hey, you need to cut back. But when I told her, thankfully I didn't get to the point where that had to happen. When I told her that it was something I was concerned about, she had noticed that too.
Yeah.
And she's not on me, like if she sees me with a beer, she's not like, what are you doing?
Right.
But, my wife her name's Courtney. She's beautiful and great, and I love her. My Uncle Trace, he's the one that showed me how to play. My Uncle Tim, and Drew, all my uncles. Drew, I don't know if y'all know the country band Lone Star. He's the lead singer for them.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That happened maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but he's not their original frontman, but he is now. So he's been a huge mentor to me. Tim, my Uncle Tim, he's the middle uncle. He's best guitar player I've ever met and seen. He showed me. My Uncle Trace showed me the chords. He gave me the foundation. Tim showed me the licks.
Okay.
And so really, all three of them together have been huge influences. And then last but not least, I've got to throw a shout out to my high school French teacher, Sarah Brown. She's a huge mentor to me through high school, and we stayed friends. And that's kind of where me and my wife developed our friendship, was in her class. And I ultimately credit her for kind of strong arming our first connection. When my wife, she was teaching in Korea for a couple years, and she moved back, and our French teacher organized our first kind of meet cute, whatever they call it these days. And yeah, so Sarah Brown, I love you. We call her Madam Brown, but she wants us to call her Sarah now. So,
So if let's say if somebody sees and they want to book you for a concert, where can they reach you at?
So we do have a website now. It's www.warchildtx.com. Apparently Warchild's already taken. I don't know about who. I think it's a rapper, man. I got tagged on Spotify that I've been added to a playlist. It was like a rap playlist with...
Hey, man, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that warchildtx.com, and that has links to our social media. We have music on Spotify, on Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon, I think, is we just put it out everywhere.
Yeah.
We'll have all that stuff linked as well.
Perfect.
So if you guys are listening, same thing on all the streaming platforms, we'll have it linked in, and this will also be on YouTube. We'll have all that stuff linked in there as well, so they can get a hold of you.
But yeah, that's get a hold of me through that. Reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, or get a hold of someone in town that knows me. I don't know, man. Like,
So when's your next performance?
so we'll be out March 15th. We've got 2 shows that day. We'll be out at the Brews, Use, and Barbecue Festival here downtown San Angelo. We're going on from 3 to 3:45. I think we're setting up by the River Stage, between the River Stage and the Museum of Fine Arts. So we'll be out there. There's going to be other musicians out there too. Should be a lot of fun. And then that same night, we'll be at the Angoria Hotel from 7 to 9, just doing our own thing out there. So really small, intimate, but really cool spot if y'all haven't been to the Angoria yet.
I've seen a bunch of stuff online. It looks really nice. I want to go check it out.
cool.
So that
Yeah.
might be the perfect opportunity to go check it out.
So yeah, come do that. We've got some cool shirts, some little stickers and things like that to sell. Usually I end up giving some out at the end of the night just because I can't help myself. But yeah, that's what we got going for March. I will say April 16th, I believe. It's a Wednesday. Really phenomenal blues player by the name of Carvin Jones. This guy has a history. He has played with people like Jeff Beck, opened for B.B. King, and some of the people that I have really grew up just loving. He's going to be coming to San Angelo. We're opening for him. Nice. We start at 7. I think we're doing like a 30-minute set, 7 to 7:30 on the 16th of April.
And where's that going to be at?
That's going to be at the Angelo Civic Theater here in San Angelo as well. And then we've got some out-of-town stuff, but all of our show dates are going to be on our website and available for people to access. So we're trying to get out and get around the state a little bit, hopefully have a little mini summer tour together soon.
Call them. Or don't.
Or don't. Is that a camera?
Yeah.
Oh, no way, dude.
Keep it nice and discreet.
I didn't know what I was supposed to be looking at the whole time, man. I'm glad this isn't my Airbnb.
That's the camera.
Yeah, this is the better place. rather here than you're in the restroom. Like, is that a camera?
Yeah, dude. Funny story about that. This is I'm gonna leave you with a pee story, man. I'm gonna end on a funny note. So you guys know the whole urinalysis thing, man. Going like in the military. When I got to my unit, Charlie Company was known at the time as Cartel Company. That being said, there urinalysis being done every other day. It felt like, and so I get there. My first day, I got broken off on a rug march, and my squad leader was really pissed off at me. The next day, we have a drug test, and for anyone that doesn't know how the military does that drug test, they have to, quote unquote, they have to see the specimen leave the body and enter the cup.
Right.
Me, I'm not so cool with that. So we started this test at 6 in the morning, and of course, you get up to the urinal with your cup. You have a guy staring at your junk, and if you're not peeing in 10 seconds, they're getting pissed at you. They're yelling at you, and that doesn't help me. So I was my first nickname in the Army was Tink, for Tinkles. Because I could not pee, and I would be there for an entire workday trying to pee, and I would go through probably dangerous amounts of water between getting smoked and low crawling out in the snow out in the parking lot and doing all that fun stuff. But yeah, that being said, I've carried that fear of peeing in public along with me, thanks to my first squad leader, Colin Nezor. I don't know where he's at these days, but he's a good dude, man. And but yeah, that was probably one of the top 10 traumatic experiences, was trying to pee on UIs. But yeah, so going back to my Airbnbs and not knowing what's in the mirror, man, like I struggle to pee in Airbnbs. So that's it, man. That's all I got on that story.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you coming in, brother. So especially sharing your story. It's a good story. So
yeah, dude. Thank you for having me, and thank you both of y'all for what y'all are doing, and just for having me on. And I can't wait to see who else y'all bring in to interview and talk to, and let's do it again sometime.
Oh yeah, definitely appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank y'all so much.